Welcome to this special webinar on the power and the secrets of acupressure. I'm Michael. I've been practicing acupressure for over 45 years. I'm so excited to show you how useful and empowering acupressure is. So let's get right into it. I want to give you an example. And then cover all the things that we're going to cover in the next hour, and then a little bit about myself. So first of all, there's an acupressure point that is so useful because it regulates the mind. And if it's blocked, you get headaches, and if it's blocked, you don't think clearly. And if it's blocked, you won't be able to remember things. So it's such a crucial point for mind, body, for your health, for your well-being. And I want to show it to you right now. It's underneath the base of your skull. Okay, so take your fingers and feel for the base of your skull here. It's bumpy. And then go down to your neck and you just explore it, okay? Now the point is going to be underneath the base of the skull, but now the question is where underneath that skull bone, underneath that bump, where is it? It's about this far apart. Now if your head is larger, it's a little farther apart. What I like to do is to take my fingers and place them on the back of my head. You do that too. And then feel with my thumbs the base of my skull and go below that. And then press underneath. As I'm tilting my head back, I press underneath the base of the skull. And as I do that, if I find, oh, I'm on the skull again, I'm on that bone, that isn't it. You want to be in the hollow. Here. Try this. Place your fingers on your spine. Go off of the spine, just about a thumb's width, not an inch, and rub back and forth like this. Do it with me. Actually do it. And press in and rub. And you'll find, oh, there's these thick, ropey cords. I want you to be, that's good. I want you to be just off of those cords. And then tilt your head back, and press underneath the base of your skull. And these points are called the gates of consciousness. These are, if you have an acupuncture chart or an acupressure chart, these points will be labeled GB20. And these are the points that regulate the neurological brain activity. If these points are blocked, if they're tight, you might have a stiff neck. You might get headaches, including migraines. So these are the points that actually release these common ailments. I mean, even if you're just feeling out of kilter and you just aren't thinking really quite clearly, this will be the exact points to press. So first of all, what I'd like to do is to tell you what we're going to cover in this webinar. And then I'll tell you a little bit about myself and we'll get right into it. Number one, what is acupressure and what is it good for? Two, how do you use it with your hands, and how do you actually combine points? In this webinar, number 4, I'm going to actually show you 11 bilateral acupressure points, plus an extra point that's not bilateral, it's right in the center. That's a total of 23 acupressure points that I'm going to be showing you in this, if you count both sides. So count this point and this point, I've already shown you 2 acupressure points. These are called the gates of consciousness. They're good for memory, for concentration. They're excellent if you have difficulty sleeping. If you're getting a headache, not only hold these points, but eventually I'll show you another set of points to hold. You can hold these 2 points with one hand and then another set of points with another hand. This gets into the whole notion that we have the capability of pressing certain point combinations. This is very exciting. This is what makes acupressure so incredibly effective. As powerful and as effective as acupuncture, which uses the same points. So, it's easy to learn and do. And I'm very excited to teach it to you here in this hour. And then if you want to go further, I'm going to be teaching. I'm just excited to let you know that that in a few days, next week, I'm going to be teaching an acupressure program called the Acupressure Mastery Program that will teach the top 60 acupressure points, where they're located, what they're good for, how to find them, how to press them, step by step, using videos. I brought in 3 cameras. It's very well edited so that you can see exactly what to do. Right now, this is a webinar, and it's just my one little camera, but you're going to get an idea of how to do acupressure and how easy it is to learn it. It's really exciting. So let's get right into it. So the first question is what is acupressure good for? It's an excellent. I'm going to give you 6 examples of what acupressure is good for. Number 1, it releases stress. If you have a tension somewhere in your body, if you have I call that a blockage, but it can be muscular. And what you want to do is to hold the point, and it'll actually dissolve the tension. And there are certain points for certain tensions. So acupressure releases stress and tension. Number 2, it releases pain. It releases jaw pain, it releases head pain, it releases neck, shoulder pain, back pain, sciatica, hip pain, leg pain, knee pain, ankle pain. If you even have a pain in your big toe and you have gout, will it work? It will certainly help relieve the pain. And I'll be telling you in the next 10 minutes how this actually works. It's been working for hundreds and hundreds of years. Developed in China. Further developed in all areas. And we'll discuss this. But right now I'm telling you the way that acupressure works and what it works for. And so far I've mentioned it releases stress, it releases pain. Thirdly, it helps a person if they've had an injury, if they've hurt themselves, like for instance, sports injuries, sprains. It helps to relieve and heal a sprain. Like for instance, this isn't a sprain, but this is a joint pain. It's called the rotator cuff. I'll be showing you an acupressure point for that here within this hour, so that if you know somebody who has a shoulder pain, you'll be able to help yourself or help other people with it. Let's say you have a muscle pull. Yeah, that's like a sports injury, and acupressure can be very helpful. Fourth, acupressure releases back pain and sciatica. It releases the stiffness in the back, aches and pains. How? through very specific trigger points. And I'm going to teach you one that's actually behind the knee, actually in the knee crease. I'll be showing you this point. So you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot of acupressure points in this hour with me. And you'll see that it's really easy to do. I'm going to describe it to you. So not only stress, relieving pain, helping to relieve and heal injuries, but also back pain and sciatica. And fifth, after a surgery, you can use acupressure to decrease the recovery time. Really good to know this, so that you can get back to having your energy after surgery. Sometimes it's really the energy that's so depleted, and acupressure can really help. A sixth way that acupressure can help you or help a person is it can bring stability to the body. Now, what do I mean by that? It can bring physical stability. Let's say there's certain situations or for certain reasons you feel unstable, dizzy, out of kilter. There's specific points that you can press. I'm going to show you one right now that works instantly. No, you don't need any other equipment but your hands. This is what I love about acupressure. So let's say you get up and you all of a sudden you feel dizzy. Press this point right here. Do it right now. Actually, this point is so phenomenal. If you ever feel like you can't remember something, press this point. Or if you feel like, your concentration isn't working great, or you just feel kind of out of it, out of sorts, press this point. Now, where exactly is it? I'm actually pressing against my gum. So I'm not pressing on my teeth where my lip is. If I drew a line from my nose all the way to my lip, it would be 1/3 of the way down or 2/3 of the way up. So you want to press firmly to get these good results. And on an acupressure chart, this is GV26. It's called the middle of the person. And it's such a great point to know. Because when I said stability, I also meant in your mind. If you feel, when I said it was, if you feel out of kilter, let's say that you feel disembodied, disassociated. If you'd do that really tightly, that'd be great. And the door opened and I wanted. Okay, look. In certain situations, you might feel out of it. And that could mean that you feel disassociated. You're not quite with it. Press this point. It will help so much. So, if a person has a mental disability or a mental imbalance, this point could help them so much. In that situation, a person can feel out of their body, like not in touch with their body. I mean, do you know anybody who is so into their heads? This point will bring you back into your body so that you have a mind-body balance. Isn't that great to know? I mean, bingo. And it works quite quickly. Like, I would say within a minute by pressing firmly here. So look, the thing is that all of these benefits that I'm talking about, and I've just mentioned 6 of them, starting with stress, with pain, accidents and injuries, back pain and sciatica. If you know somebody has had a surgery, to help them recover more quickly, and also acupressure can help you if mentally, emotionally, or physically you're feeling out of it. Why? There's a million reasons why people feel like that. Stress is one of them. This point that I just showed you is so useful. It's right in the center. And you press against the gum. And let's say you've had too much to drink. Or, just all of a sudden you just feel like, press this point. It's not like, oh, now that I know acupressure, I can drink more alcohol. That's not the point, right? But it's really great to know wherever you are. One time, I was at a wedding, and there was this young man, and he was taller than I was, and he said, I was talking about acupressure, and he said, oh, wait a second, all of a sudden I'm getting dizzy. And he had not just too much to drink, but he hadn't had anything to eat. And he started to faint. And because he was so tall, it was scary for me, because he had a long way to go, because he was fainting. So I pressed this point on him, and I actually encouraged him to breathe, to get into his breath. And he recovered in a matter of moments. This is such a good feeling, to be able to go anywhere and be able to help somebody. No drugs, no side effects. You can use acupressure for yourself, self-care. You can use it as a preventative measure. Let's say you tend to, here's another thing that this point actually is good for, overeating. And you tend to overeat. You can use this preventatively to equalize your appetite and to balance your mind and body. Now, when I use acupressure, I always encourage myself or my client to breathe slow, even, deep breaths. And what most people think with acupressure is that they just, bing, press the point. That's not how it works. You need to press the point gradually. I'm giving you the secrets of using the acupressure points to make it effective so that you can get great results. So it's not like, and people all the time, when I teach and do seminars throughout the last 40 years. By the way, I just want to mention, my name is Michael, and I've been teaching acupressure for over 40 years. I've been doing it for over 45 years. Actually, I started when I was 20. About 20, 21. And so now you know my age. So I've been doing this for actually 47 years. It's been such a great blessing in my life. And wherever I go, I know that I can help myself and I can help others. And it's such a good feeling to know the points and how to press them. So for all the points, you always apply the pressure gradually. And I don't just go, bing, I press the point like you press the button, like, oh, the light switch is going, there's the button, you press it. No, that's not how it works. You want to hold the points for at least a minute. And the points that are more blocked or that need more attention, I'll hold those points for 2 or 3 minutes. And breathe slow, even, deep breaths. That's all part of the protocol, the procedure, to get the great results that I've gotten using the acupressure points. Now, doing this for others, for me, is so rewarding because it's a form of service. This goes This goes beyond creating a private practice professionally. For me, it means wherever I go, I can help people. So I hope this is even piquing your interest in learning this healing art. So now what we're going to cover is what actually is acupressure and how does it work? You see, the acupressure points are actually the key places where the body's energy tends to get blocked up. So if you're following me, there are places on the body that are keys of deep release. And when you hold them properly, like I'm talking about, going into the points gradually, very slowly, and I'm going to be talking about the levels of going into points later in this, I call it a seminar, this workshop. What you want to do when you're holding a point is to understand that the point has a high electrical conductivity at the surface of the skin. So that, I'm using this as an example, this point, right at this point, there, at the surface of the skin, there's a low skin resistance so that there's a greater ability to conduct energy and to open energy blockages. The body tends to get blocked up in key spots. And these are the places to release it. Now, there's 365 traditional acupressure points. Now, of those 365 points, interesting that it's the same amount as days of the year, there's about 60 that are crucial or that are super important to get results for every common ailment that you can think of. Now, is acupressure then a replacement for going to your doctor? No, not at all. If you have a friend who has a medical disorder or medical problem, they should get medical care. Acupressure is not a substitution for medical treatment or medical assessment. So if somebody has diabetes or they have cancer, they should see a doctor regularly. And yet the question comes up, well, can you still do acupressure? Yes, you can do acupressure the way I'm showing you. You know, a lot of people go, can you hit the points? No, you can't hit the points. A lot of people, they always call it that. You want to press the points gradually with deep breathing as you hold the points so that you can get these great results. So there are acupressure points that can help people who are suffering from cancer. They may be taking medication, for instance, that's causing nausea. And there's been studies done I'm talking about a blind study that it's an actual scientific study with a control group where they found that medications that doctors give to arrest the for cancer, for actually after when a person is taking chemotherapy, they give these drugs, and they often cause nausea. Well, I'm going to show you this acupressure point right now that is based on the scientific. So feel it on yourself. So here's your wrist crease. See, there's a crease, and 3-finger widths below the crease, right in the center of the palm of your hand, if you drew a line, is this acupressure point that's called the inner gate. And it is the most highly and most well-known acupressure point that's used in scientific literature, particularly for relieving nausea. You know, I remember going to a store. It was actually a sporting goods store, and I needed something, and I asked this woman if she had this. It was some kind of a ball, and or I think it was a glove. It was a long time ago, but I remember looking at her and going, "Are you okay?" And she said, "Yeah, I'll be okay. I just don't feel well right now." And I said, "Is it in your stomach?" Because it was just the way she was cringing with her face. And she says, "Yeah, I'm feeling nauseous." So I said, "Is it okay if I know you're at work and stuff, and is it okay if I showed her what I was about to do, and she said, yeah. She gave me her hand. I said, "If you can give me both of your hands, because they're bilateral, they're on both sides." And I went in slowly, because if you go in fast, it can hurt. And that's one of the main problems that people have. That's what you need training in order to not hit the points. Like, if you hit this point, like it's really close to the nose, a prize fighter knows that you can knock a person out. Yeah. In martial arts, there are certain points that are used to protect yourself. But it's so important to learn how to heal another human being. And anybody in the martial arts field knows this and understands that if I know martial arts, I should if I'm balanced as a martial artist, and I can protect myself, my family, my friends, I should know how to heal my opponent. Makes sense. And it has to do with the inner and the outer. The martial arts is the outer protection from outside influences. And the acupressure is the inner healing art. So great to know all these points. So now you know an acupressure point where if a little child has a tummy ache, he or she could press this point on herself or on himself while they're in school. This is so great because it empowers a person so that they can feel self-reliant in their life. This is a great thing. Such a great thing. Okay. What I'd like to do now is to tell you more about how acupressure works. Because there's different acupressure points. There's acupressure points that balance the healing energy in the body. And we're going to start talking about meridians. Because the points are on meridians. The meridians are the channel of energy, the pathway that the energy flows in. If you really want to know acupressure and do it well, you'll need to learn the meridians. In the beginning of every year, I begin teaching about the meridians in the acupressure training circle, and I make sure that it's affordable. It's just a monthly fee that people pay regularly so that they can learn all 12 meridians and the most important points that's on them so that they can connect the dots and be able to heal themselves. And yes, in this acupressure training circle, I teach a lot of self-care, but also how to help others. And this will get you into understanding the whole nature of a trigger point. This point here is not only good for the wrist, it's good for the stomach. It's good for even the heart. Like if a person is having anxiety or even an anxiety attack, if you press here, yeah, it can really help, especially if you're taking deep breaths. Now that gets me into another point that I would love to show you, and I'm going to put a pink dot on it. It's right here at the center of my breastbone. Okay, how do you find that? Find your armpit crease and draw a line, and oh my goodness, right in the center of that line between your armpit crease is the point. Now I want to be specific to you so you can actually feel the point. Do it on yourself. Rub, and you're going to feel, if you start rubbing, you're going to feel bumps. In between the bumps are dips, and the points are in dips. Acupressure is like playing a musical instrument. It's called the body. But if you're playing, let's say, the flute, do you hold the holes of the flute like a bamboo flute? Yeah. You also hold the holes or the dips or the indentations of joints to press the acupressure points. That is, if they're in joints. And there's joint points, and then there's muscular points. For every joint and for every muscle, there is an acupressure point that can really help significantly to relieve that joint pain or that muscular pain. Now that's phenomenal. That is a blessing. This is why I'm so excited to turn you on to acupressure. And I really hope that you'll go further with me. This hour is going to be, I pray, will be useful and beneficial. But I hope you'll want to learn more. And I'm going to tell you about how you can at the end of this. If you don't have the time, just go to acupressuremastery.com and spell acupressure with one C, ACU, A-C-U, pressure, mastery.com. And it'll give you a video, and then it'll give you all the details of how you can learn 60 acupressure points and how to combine them to create acupressure formulas for balancing the healing energy of the body, for relieving stress, for relieving pain, for helping people with those 6 different uses of acupressure. Okay, so I told you there's 365 acupressure points in the body. And that we're talking about how does acupressure work. Let me give you an understanding of what happened in China. In the cold parts of China, in the northern parts of China, they used heat to warm the body up, and they heated the acupressure points. It's an art called moxibustion. And I teach that in the advanced class. But look, in the southern part of China, where it's warmer, they used the cooler needles. The metal is, you touch metal, it's cool. So they use needles. But throughout China, they used herbology and acupressure. And so in different regions of China, they called the points different things, but the points are all the same, which is really great. It means that they're anatomically, it's very clear where an acupressure point is if you're studying with a good teacher. So, I said there's trigger points, and I want to connect the dots for you, and then I started to talk to you about the meridians and how important they are. Well, if the meridian flows, let me give you an example. Here's a point that's so well known, right here. And this is called the Hoku point. It's the 4th point on the large intestine meridian. The meridian is a channel of human electrical energy, and it runs through a pathway, and I'm tracing it right now. And it eventually winds up in nourishing, the energy nourishes the large intestine. That's why when you press here, it's a trigger point for benefiting your large intestine. That's why we use this point for constipation. It's good to know. But this meridian also goes through the frontal lobes of your brain. And that's why, if you've learned this point, you've learned that this point actually is good for relieving headaches. How? Because when you press here, via, or through is what I mean, through the channel, the meridian that goes through your body, this meridian, there's a branch that goes into the lobes of the brain and the intestines. Hey, just take for a second. There's a connection between your brain and your intestines. Take a brain, whack, cut it in half, and you'll see that the brain, they call it the gray matter. This is anatomical. But the squiggly gray matter of the brain looks very much like the intestines. And when you overeat, when I have eaten, I can't think clearly, and it blocks up my intestines. So when you learn traditional Chinese medicine hands-on, what is traditional Chinese medicine hands-on? It's called acupressure. When you learn acupressure, you learn so many fascinating practical things that you'll be able to do the rest of your life to help yourself, your family, and your friends. And to me, I wouldn't trade that for the world, you know? I mean, we all should learn this. Little children should be able to, you know, press this point. Press this point when they have a headache. I've taught children. I've gone into elementary schools and I ask them, tell me, do you have a complaint in your body? Is there an ache or a pain or a tension? I get so many hands raised. I do. And there's, you know, they'll say the knee, the shoulders. My head hurts sometimes. I get tummy aches. Yeah, our kids need to learn acupressure. And I hope that you'll learn it so that you can teach them. Whether it's a niece or a nephew, or you, like me, will go into schools and teach. You know, teachers love it when there's, you know, a volunteer that's going to be able to help people. So is it only for the young? Can you do it for the elderly? Absolutely. Acupressure is for people of all ages. There are acupressure points for memory. This is actually one. We're going to go into that more. I showed you these points. These points are the gates of consciousness for the mind, for your brain. There's points, for instance, for if you're feeling unsteady. If an elderly person has a cane and they feel unsteady, they certainly may want to press this point. They might want to sit down and press it. This is so beneficial to the health and well-being of everybody. And that's why I've dedicated my whole life to it. It's fantastic. And, you know, what's a blessing for me is now I'm teaching people all over the world. And I send videos to you so that you can see exactly where the points are located. And I'm blessed because I've been able to go into a really good studio where the lighting is good, and I've got at least 3 cameras on me and a fantastic way of editing this. Why am I saying this? Because it's so accessible. I make it that. It's in my DNA. It's in my heart to get this information to ordinary people so that you can learn this and discover the benefits. It's so fantastic. So there's another way that acupressure actually works, and I want you to know this, and it has to do with pain. If somebody is suffering from pain and you hold the acupressure points for over a minute with deep breathing, it opens up neurochemicals in your bloodstream. That's what it does. That relieve pain. And doctors know about this because there's a lot of scientific literature about endorphins. Endorphins are the neurochemicals that release when you press a point longer than a minute with deep breathing, or when these points are punctured by needles, or when you use other forms of acupressure and alternative methods that are a part of traditional Chinese medicine. There's actually, for every acupressure point, different levels to the energy flow. So it's really a big mistake when a person goes and they press the point too hard, too fast, and it hurts. You know, that can actually be traumatizing. So I want you to do acupressure properly. Go into the points slowly. Okay, so now the question is, what's the difference between acupressure, acupuncture, and tapping? Okay, it's really easy to answer the first question, which is what's the difference between acupressure and acupuncture? Points are the same, exactly the same. The technique and the method is completely different. Instead of using needles, with acupressure, we're using our hands. But we don't limit it to our hands. Because let's say you're double jointed, or you have arthritis in a finger or a hand. That's why we can use knuckles. We can use the palm of our hands. We can use our fist. We can use our elbows. And I'll show you how to do this. It's really fun. I mean, it's really fun to learn the points and then learn very specific techniques that are very powerful for stimulating these points. And I'll be teaching you that starting next week in the Acupressure Mastery Program. Actually, I start by showing you point by point what to do for each of the 60 acupressure points, how to feel for them with your fingers, so that you'll feel confident to be able to find the points. Because some points are in dips, and some points are right underneath the muscles. And the muscles sometimes feel like a cord, and sometimes they feel lumpy, like a knot. Okay. Now, some of you have heard of this, actually tapping the points. And this point here can be tapped. And I say right here, find this on yourself. Go to your collarbone, rub. Oh yeah, there's a bone there. Okay, go more inside, and you'll feel that, okay, there's it comes to a head, so that sticks out more right here. Feel that on yourself. And now just below that, I'm going to come in a little closer so you can see. Just below that, you'll about a half of an inch is a hollow space. And that's a fantastic point. I wrote the most well-distributed, most famous book in acupressure. It's called Acupressure's Potent Points, and it goes into acupressure for common complaints. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I looked at the book, which shows you what to do for common ailments. And actually, the Acupressure Mastery Program goes much further into what the book covers, because it actually shows you step by step how to help and how to heal with the 60 acupressure points that are in the course. So in this book, Acupressure's Potent Points, that goes from A to Z, what to do for common complaints, this point that I just showed you, just below your collarbone in the dip. So you're actually, if you go more inside, you'll find, oh, I'm on my breastplate, which is called the sternum. Go just off of the sternum, and you're in between two ribs, the first two ribs, just below your collarbone, is a point on an acupressure chart and an acupuncture chart that's labeled K27. K27 is called the Elegant Mansion. What does that mean? Where did they get that name? The elegance, well, the mansion, let's talk about the mansion. The mansion is the chest. This point clears the chest. When you're clear, you feel great. When you're clear, you look great. So you look elegant. This point actually opens up the chest, and it clears the throat. So it's good for thyroid. So if a person has thyroid irregularity, this is one of the most powerful points to hold. Now, would you hold it for just a minute? No, I'd hold it for 3 minutes. And I'd certainly breathe deeply. Do it on yourself. You know, it actually feels good to breathe. And when you're holding points, and you know that in order for you to get even greater results, this is another secret. Get greater results with acupressure. You need to breathe deeply through your nose if possible. Slow, even, long, deep breaths. Okay. We've already talked about age. There is no difference in terms of what points, certain points for the elderly, certain points for the young people. No. They're all the same points. That's what's so great. They're universal. This is so fantastic. Now, in this seminar, in this acupressure masterclass, or you can call this the acupressure, the power of acupressure, the secrets of acupressure. I don't really care what you call it. This is a class that is now going to become even more hands-on, because that's my favorite thing to do. So I'd like to show you a couple of acupressure points that are underneath the cheekbone that I've used for my eyes when my eyes are feeling irritable, and I've used it for my sinus. And these points are right here. So I'm going to go and right in here. Okay, let's see. Yeah. So it's right underneath your cheekbone. Okay, how do you find it? Draw a line from your eyeballs straight down, and it'll go right into the center of these green dots. And then you want to press underneath the cheekbone, gently. Okay, you see them? Now I'm going to take them off so I don't look stupid. Okay, so I'm using my index fingers, but I'd rather have you use index and your longest finger, and press, not on the bone, press slowly underneath it and gradually. This point can be very sore. This point can really open up and affect the musculature in your face, and it can relieve sinus congestion and sinus pain. And sometimes it's the sinus pain that's putting pressure on the nerve and causing a toothache. So this can cause a toothache. Do I recommend you go to a dentist? I sure do. I mean, this can relieve the buildup. It might even be the buildup of, you might have an infection. You need to see a dentist if you have a toothache. But this is good to know immediately. You know, if this can help you immediately, they say cloves or clove oil is good. It helps. You need to go see a dentist. we need to take care of ourselves on all levels. And acupressure is huge because it can relieve hundreds of different common ailments. But that doesn't rule out that you wouldn't go to a doctor if you might have a medical disorder. It makes sense, doesn't it? We're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's what they say. Okay, there are also acupressure points in your temples here. But I want you to be clear where they are. So put your fingertips on your eyebrows, okay? And slowly go off and outward. And it's flat here. And I want you to feel, by pressing and rubbing and rotating, the biggest hollow here with 2 fingers. Take deep breaths and rotate as you give a mild amount of pressure. Yeah, much deeper than you normally breathe. Good. Deep breaths. So what is this good for? It's good for your mind. It helps to clear it. I'll show you another point that's really fantastic for the mind. It's a finger's width above your eyebrow. Now, I'm going to come in close. When I bring my eyebrows up, you see these creases? Well, this middle crease right here, right on it, is where the point is. Where is it? Is it over here or is it over here? No, it's straight above my eyes. Interesting. Remember, this one was also this point underneath the cheekbone, which, by the way, on an acupressure chart is ST3. And I call it the facial beauty point. Now, this point here above the eyes is a point that is really good for the mind. And the way I use this point on myself is I take my middle fingertip, place it on one side, and my thumb on the other. So now the trick and the secret of pressing this point, I gotta clear my clear my throat. Yeah, one thing that can clear the throat is this point that I showed you. With the deep breathing. I think you're getting it. I find that it's important to repeat the benefits of the points, the location of points, the names of the points. That's how I learned, was through repetition. So I do that. I want this to be easy for you. I want you to get it. So that's what it's all about. I want acupressure to be accessible to people everywhere. And so that's why I'm teaching it online. And let's I just want to make sure that you got this point in the temples. It feels good. You got this point here, and I want to make it clear, hold this point super lightly. The lighter you hold this point, the better it works. And what does it work for? It works for clearing the mind. You almost do it like instinctively. You went to the store, but you forgot your list, and you say, I need apples, and I need oranges, and I need, what was it? And you just tend to do this naturally. Isn't acupressure great? No side effects. Just good effects. No drugs. No special equipment. All you need is your fingertips. But you do need to know the specific points, where they're located and what they're good for. And that's why I'm going to teach the Acupressure Mastery Program, which I'll go into several points, like 6 or 7 or 8 points at a time. And what I do is I've produced over 50 videos that you're going to get one at a time, maybe 2 at a time. And over the weeks, over 5 months, which is how long the program is, you're not only going to learn and be confident about these 60 top acupressure points, but I'm going to show you how to combine them and show you acupressure point formulas. It's so exciting because now you're going to be able to, I'm going to actually we'll show you in the Acupressure Mastery Program. Look, if you want to get all the details, go to acupressuremastery.com. Spell it. Acupressure, A-C-U, pressure, mastery.com. And you'll get a free video, and then after the video, you'll continue to watch it. And when it's over, I'd like to encourage you to scroll down, and you'll see everything that you're going to get. And I'm going to give you a lot. So you can pay for this monthly. It's $97 a month, but you get a discount if you pay it all up front, which is $397 for the entire program, for over 50 acupressure instructional videos. Okay, so I just want to describe for you how I want to make this accessible. And so I have this 30-day guarantee. And it gives you permission, I give you permission to download all of these videos. Why? So that you can have them the rest of your life. So it's not just, you can refer to them. You can show other people how to use a point. I want this to be useful. I want this to be empowering. Now, the 30-day guarantee is you're getting the videos from me, and if you find that this is lousy, I'm not really getting it, you can write to me and say, I don't like this program. I want to drop out. I will give you every single penny back. That's my pledge. So you have nothing to lose to see if you want to learn more from me. Now, all the details are at acupressuremastery.com. So I can see that there's a couple of questions, and then we'll call it a training. Now the question is, the person is saying, hey, I'm a slower learner. So you say this is a 5-month program, but what if it takes me longer? Is there an extra fee, or how does that work? Well, it's a good question. And honestly, I'm a slower learner. And that's why for this 5-month program, I want to give you an entire year of access to this program, to all of the videos and all of the materials. So you have time to download them, and you'll have them then for the rest of your life. And I encourage you to download them on a little thumb drive or little thumb drive. And so you have them in storage, and you can then stick the thumb drive into your computer and be able to watch a video whenever you want to. Okay, one more question. Can acupressure support my health? And if so, how can it? This is a really big question, a very important question. The answer is yes. There are specific points for different areas of your body and for different functions of your body. And what acupressure does is it helps to clear energy blockages. So for instance, and let's come full cycle, if you're not thinking clearly, or you're thinking like, my head feels heavy, kind of makes me feel like I'm starting to feel a little bit of even heaviness in here. It makes me feel like it's getting worse. I think I'm coming down with a headache. You can press these points that I showed you right here underneath the base of the skull. It was the first point I showed you. In an acupuncture chart, in an acupressure chart, this is GB20, the gates of consciousness points. That opens up the brain. Now I'm going to connect the dots for you. So you could press these points with one hand like this. Feel around. This is how you do it. Is to, oh, here's my skull, and just below the skull, this is my upper neck. Okay, if I tilt my head back, then I can get pressure underneath the skull. That's how you get the point. While I'm holding this point, thumb on one side and my fingers on the other, pressing inwards and slightly upwards underneath the skull, I can lightly hold these points. These points right in here. And I'm doing that on both sides. And I'm going to inhale. Do it with me. Try it out. Inhale. As you hold it, inhale and let your head come back. And exhale as you come forward. And inhale and come up. And exhale and relax down. You're doing great. Now hold the points lightly. And breathe deeper than you normally breathe. And slowly tilt your head back just a little bit. Good. And let's end with 2 other points. Just lightly hold underneath the cheekbone. And take deep breaths. You're doing great. As long as you're breathing deeply while you hold the points. I'm not holding these points very hard. I don't use hard pressure on the face. But you want to connect with the point so you can feel a connection. Okay, now let's come down to your collarbone and go right underneath the collarbone into these points here. About this far apart. And take some deep breaths. Inhale. Look, I know. You, like me, are saying, you might be saying to yourself, I'm not sure if it's here or here or here. Use all 3 fingers and cover the entire area and cover all the points that you think it might be. And that's doing these points correctly. Look, if you had a needle, you would need to pinpoint that point. But with the fingers, that's a whole different tool. This makes it easier, and it makes it safe. Because you're not puncturing something. You need to know what you're doing if you're using needles. Take deep, deep breaths. Another deep, deep breath into your chest and your belly. Good. It's been a blessing to do this with you. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope that you'll want to learn more. And so I send you my blessings. And I hope that we can get together to learn more of the points and to discover the benefits. I just want to send you a lot of love because the world needs love and it needs healing. And the reason why I love acupressure and I want you to get this is because it's empowering. You'll feel more self-reliant. You'll be able to help yourself and others. So let's do this. Go to acupressure.com or acupressuremastery.com. Those are both of my websites if you want more information. But more than anything, I want to send you blessings. Bye-bye.